What a day. Crazy rotations, G League legends, someone popping off in their first ever NBA game, and the Bulls being terrible. Well, that's just like normal. Michael Bolton.
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed.
You are Locked On Fantasy, your daily NBA fantasy podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd, and I'm going to single-handedly save TikTok through interpretive dance. I'm also the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com, and you can find me on Blue Sky, joshloyd.bsky.social, on Twitter at redrock_bball, on TikTok at redrock_bball, and on Instagram at Locked On Fantasy Basketball. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. From the first whistle to the final drive, FanDuel makes the NFL playoffs even more exciting. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets. If you win your first bet, go to FanDuel.com to get started. Also, go to LockedOnDaily.com and find the best newsletter for your favorite NBA team. Locked On Daily, best newsletter in your inbox 5 days a week. I'm also here to receive a thumb. If you've got one of them, I'll take it. I'll take the thumb. I'll take the comment. You can also throw one of those thumbs on the live trade deadline show as well. That would be absolutely smashing if you could do that. What are we doing? We're talking about the games. On Wednesday, there were 11 of them. Haven't had an 11-game day in quite a while, but that's okay. We're here now to talk about it because it's International Rubois Day. You're a Rubois fan. Do you know what Rubois is? I assume you do because you're all men and women of culture on this show. So you're massive Rubois fans. And if you're not, get with it. And then tell me about how you do know about it and you've known about it all along. We are going to talk... Well, let's just talk about what news there is. Just to mention a couple of things. I'm sure you're aware, but there's a new big dick in town in Phoenix. Nick Richards, BDNR, joins the Suns in exchange for Josh Okogie and second-round picks getting moved around. I know there is a ton of excitement on Richards. I did a whole show on it earlier today. I think that Nick Richards is okay. If you want to grab him, that's okay. I don't think that he is a game-changing player. He started last season and wasn't very good. He started at the start of this season and was solid enough. I think he's going to have less usage on this team, and there's no guarantee he plays 28 minutes tonight. There is none whatsoever. So, yes, you can have a look, and we love to get ahead of it. Grab him if you feel like it. That's okay. But I don't think this is a league winner. I don't think this is a game-changing player for the Suns or for fantasy. Cool. Although they've heard people say, man, this is going to be huge for Mark Williams. Doesn't do anything for Mark Williams. Doesn't change things at all for Mark Williams. Not at all. Mark Williams is Mark Williams. Nick Richards was his backup. Doesn't do a thing for Mark. What it does in deeper leagues means Moussa Diabate is going to have at least single game stream value when Williams sits, and otherwise just a nice deeper league play who elevates if Williams is out. The news in Oklahoma City is a bit annoying. Isaiah Hartenstein has a soleus strain, an injury which literally nobody ever heard of until about a year ago, and now everyone's popping up with one of them, and he's out for at least a week. I think that Pig Williams will get the crack, and the Thunder have 3 games in 4 nights coming up. No one else does. So if you're going to take a look at Jalen Williams, big Jalen Williams, Vietnamese legend Jalen Williams, now's the time. 3 games, 4 nights, no Hartenstein, no Chet. They could go small. They could go small. But those times when they went small with the Bronco at center is when Pig Williams wasn't there. So just be aware of that. And then the Blazers. The Blazers. So we got the news on old mate Don Clingan, who originally they thought it was a knee problem, but it wasn't. It was an ankle problem. He'll be reevaluated in a week with a sprained ankle. Robert Williams is doubtful with an illness. That means we're getting a lot of snowman. And if you're in a deeper league, you're looking at Dwop Reith because he is going to be, I'm guessing, the backup center. Clingan, that's another injury that's got to bother us. He already was limited in minutes and all this sort of stuff. Again, hold if you want. But I do have some reservations about his overall skill level. I do think, though, he will get a 26-minute-a-night role at some point. And he's a much better, permanent player than, Nick Richards is. Avdija is doubtful. Jeremy Grant's facial contusion continues to be the worst thing in the world. He is out again. So we're going to get another chance at Scoot. A reminder, this does not mean that Billups has turned it over to Scoot. It means that Grant and Avdija are out, so Scoot will start. That's what it means. But you use him in this situation. So that's what's happening in Portland. We will just go, I think, now into games. First game, the Knicks, the Philadelphia 76ers. Karl Anthony Towns hurt his thumb in the last game. They're calling it a sprained thumb. And there was a report from Stefan Bondi, who originally put out an incorrect report. He said it was a wrist, not a thumb, but it is a wrist. And he was saying that there was a chip off the bone, which happens very often on those sort of things. It's like an avulsion fracture, basically. Something hits the edge of your thumb, it pulls back, the ligament rips a little bit of bone off. As soon as the sprain has gone down, Towns will play, and he'll play through the bone chip, because that bone chip can honestly sit there for years and be annoying and be swollen. And in the off-season, he'll probably won't have surgery, but you just immobilize that thumb for like 6 weeks or something, and it can sort of heal itself. But he will have that problem ongoing, so just be aware of that when he's flexing his hand and his back, that is going to happen. So, of course, it was Jericho Sims' useless ass who started in place of him. And, yeah, Sims did what we want Sims to do. Nothing. 8 and 7 in 23 minutes with no defensive stats and 2 of 4 from the line. So even in a scenario where old mate Towns is out, I don't think we're running for Sims, and I also don't think we're running for the big sneeze, Precious Achiuwa, who's also pretty bad. He played 30 minutes, he had 10 and 6. He did have 3 blocks, that's nice, but overall he's just not that good. I tell you who is good though, Josh the Hitman Hart. 10, 17 and 12 with 4 steals, 44% shooting. That's not good. From the line, not good. He has been so much better than I anticipated this season. I was sort of back and forward on him when the Towns trade went down. I thought it would help him, but I didn't think we'd get this. He has been that. People can say, "Oh man, you've got Vucevic and his projection's so wrong." Cool. Don't know about that yet because that's still to happen, and that can easily regress back. This one I got wrong. I had no way that I thought Josh Hart was this. No way that I thought we were going to get a repeat performance and a better performance. That one got wrong easily. Very comfortably got this one wrong. And he just continues to be great. Jalen Brunson had 38, 5 and 4 with 3 threes on 45 minutes. That's a lot of minutes, man. It was overtime though, so I'll give you that. And then Juice McBride, one of his better games, 13, 3 and 3. Hopefully he's able to work himself back into being the guy that does get to sub in when one of the guards is out, with Payne only playing 7 minutes here. Anunoby got extra volume with Towns out. He didn't maybe hit many shots. He was 38% on 16 attempts, but he did have 17, 4 and 4. And Bridges had 23, 2 and 2. So overtime helped, and Towns being out helped a lot of these players. On the Sixers, Embiid still out. Again, nobody cares anymore. Nobody cares about Embiid. This is what I've determined, is that this would be big. A year ago, would have been such big news. My God, Embiid, he's hurt again. Man, what is going on? Nobody cares. He's just out again, and we don't say a single thing about it. And I know I'm going to keep saying something about it until, can someone like pick this up somewhere and go, what the bloody hell is going on? Because we don't hear anything. Anyway, he was out. Maxey returned. Paul George returned. That meant that Reggie Jackson moved to the bench. Thanks, mate. And Ricky Council IV moved to the bench. Now I was following some beat reporters in this game. A lot of them were really glazing Justin Edwards. I go, man, he must have had a huge game. And he did play a lot of minutes, Justin. 35 minutes, but he had 10 points. I thought he was like really popping off. Now, to be fair, he hit shots and he hit a big 3 down the end of the game. 10 points, 2 threes for Edwards with a steal on 67% shooting. It is hard for me to get excited here. Lowry was out. KJ Martin was out. Caleb Martin was out. Embiid was out. Drummond was out. The 2 guys that play the same position as Edwards basically are KJ and Caleb Martin. And Edwards has had a couple of really good games here. And it's obviously worth paying attention to and noticing how good he has been in these games. But we're not doing really anything with it. I'm very happy to say that I think Paul George isn't washed. 23, 3 and 6 with 3 steals. What I need now is George to put up these games when Embiid plays. If Embiid plays. Well, Maxey had 33, 6 and 6. And Oubre, who had a big opportunity yesterday and did nothing, he had 16 and 10 here with 2 steals. So that was good. 21 minutes for Eric Gordon. They went with Edwards over Gordon, which is, again, that's something to note. But remember, Gordon also, when the team was healthy, was getting 0. So, yeah. Is there a large role for Edwards coming? Probably not. Gordon had 14 with 3 threes, and Yabusele, this is part of the reason. These are the data points that when I look at what he, when I look at what's his name, when I look at the big fella, Yabusele, I go, okay, so when Embiid's out, we're interested in him. But the fact that he only sort of hits good games half of the time means there's no way that I feel good about holding him even when Embiid returns. He had 9 and 5 with 6 assists in 38 minutes with both other centers out, which again is why I'm just not going to be that interested in him when Joel is playing. There's 10 more games. There's a lot to talk about. The Bulls are embarrassing. But before we get to that, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. From the first whistle to the final drive, FanDuel is there all through the NFL playoffs with you. And as a new customer, you can bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win your first bet. That is $300, and that keeps all of the action going. The FanDuel app is easy to navigate. There's a variety of bets to keep every game exciting, and when you win, you get paid instantly. No more waiting around for your winning. So when betting on your favorite team or the team that you want to watch or the team that you think is going to win, well, FanDuel has all the options for you covered. Just go to FanDuel.com and join today and get started with $300 in bonus bets. That is FanDuel.com. Make the playoff season unforgettable with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL, and don't forget to gamble responsibly. Today's episode is also brought to you by Skims. Yes, Skims. Not telling you to buy them for your missus. I'm not telling you for the ladies out there to buy it for yourselves. This is for the blokes, for the dudes, for the big fellas, because Skims Men's is now a thing. They make underwear for men, and it is unbelievably comfortable. There are so many different types of styles. There's the regular briefs, high cut. There's the boxer briefs. There's regular boxers. The materials differ as well. You got the nice stretchy ones, which is the ones I really like as well, because it just feels like I'm wearing nothing at all. And when you get that array of colors and sizes and shapes and cuts, blending, meeting at the intersection of fashion and functionality, Skims Men's provides you with that underwear, which is going to be something that you're talking about to your grandkids. Remember that time when Skims Men's were invented? You weren't around, but it really was a seminal moment in my underwear journey. So shop Skims Men's at skims.com/LockedOnNBA and at Skims stores and let them know that we sent you. After you place your order, select podcast in the survey and select our show in the drop-down menu that follows. And I hope they've got some sort of drop-down menu in store that when you're at the checkout, there's something there you can just flick on and write Locked On so people know, like a scoreboard. If not, Skims, if you're listening, do that. But otherwise, just tell them. I'm sure they want to hear about it. Locked On is where you came from to get your Skims Men's. If anyone does that, if anyone goes into a Skims store and tell them, that you came from us, I will die. I'll piss my pants laughing. It'll be humorous. Love it. They want the advertising feedback, so I would love it. I think it would be very, very humorous. But anyway, maybe don't do that. Maybe I'll get in trouble for that. That's okay. Boston and Toronto is the next game up. And what about our Raptors? The spirit and heart of Canada, carrying them through to a big win over the Boston Celtics. 110-97. The Celtics were they were full strength and they couldn't get it done. Again, they are in a slump at the moment, Boston. I don't think it's anything to worry about, but they are slumping. And we'll talk about who is actually slumping the most. Maximum Derek White. What is this? 21 minutes, 6-0-1. Got to be in the mix for dud of the night. He shot 22% from the field. That stinks. That's actually incredibly terrible. He is on a terrible run. It's like the opposite of a Linsanity run. Should we call it an Anthony Bennett? Because what's going on with this bloke? 196th over the last 5 games. It's a gigantic buy low. Please don't do anything stupid. I mean, do something stupid in the rest of your life. I don't care. Well, I actually do a little bit. Don't do anything that's endangering people, but don't do anything stupid for fantasy, because that is where I'm holding your hand. Don't drop Derek White. It is a buy low. It's also a massive buy low on Jaylen Brown. Unfortunately, JB was not able to do it again. He had 10, 7, and 4 on 25% and missed one of his 2 free throws. A stinking run from him as well. Big buy lows coming. Drew Holiday was fine. Tatum was like not good, but whatever. He wasn't as bad as the others. 16, 10, and 7. But Peyton Pritchard was able to step up. 31 minutes for him. He got extra run because they only played White 21 minutes. 20 points for Pritchard with 4 threes. He'd been obviously quite down in this game. Now makes him the 214th ranked player over the last 2 weeks. So if you dropped Peyton Pritchard, I did in industry pickup. I dropped him. I said, I need some other roster spot in here. I don't think it's a problem. This is a good game. Obviously, I don't think it's a problem. Otherwise, I wouldn't have done it. Now, there can be spuds, and he's not a spud, but there can be waiver wire guys. Maybe that's a better way of phrasing it. They put up big games. It happens. That doesn't mean that, what a terrible, I shouldn't have done that, because there's no guarantee that Pritchard now plays 30 a night, every night, and White plays 21 and Peyton's good. Now, he showed really good stuff earlier in the season. If you wanted to re-grab him, not a problem. Do it, right? That is okay. But if you dropped because he had been bad and things were trending and the shape of everything was not looking good, I believe it's the right decision. It's a decision that I made. But he was good today, and that happens. While Porzingis had 18 and 8 with 4 threes and 2 blocks, as that probably ends our Celtic discussion. On to our Raptors. They were able to get the same lineup out again. Emmanuel Quickley wasn't in there, and they went with Davion Mitchell again, and he played 26 minutes. He had 10 points, he had 5 assists and 2 steals. Actually, that's quite a good game from Mitchell. I wish they would give the minutes to Shed, but Shed is now playing fewer minutes than when he was the backup behind Quickley. Now he's the backup behind Mitchell. Mitchell gets steals. That's what he does. He doesn't do much more. I don't think we're rostering him in any 12-teamers or 14-teamers, but this was better than last game. Pirtle had 16 and 11, while Barnes had 18, 3, and 9 with 2 blocks. Good games for both of those guys. And it was great. After a couple of down ones for RJ Barrett to get back in business. 22, 10, and 8. Now, unfortunately, just 25% from the line. His inability to hit shots from the line is incredibly annoying. He was on the buy low show, so W to get a bump there. And he had a 1-1. So one of the better recent Barrett games. But do you know what that means we're going to talk about? There's no quickly. So that should theoretically mean that we get, well, not maximum dick, but at least semi-maximum dick. But we don't. Grady's doing nothing. 25 minutes, 12 points, 2 threes, 4 assists. Do I need to change my ideas on Dick and just say that now it needs 2 of the big 3 out before we actually can use Dick in a 12-team standard league? Because at the moment, I don't think we can. And I don't think I'm rushing to grab him or anything like that or use Grady in any sort of 12-team scenario. Talked about it on the waiver wire show today with people taking the flyer on Chris Boucher and saying, yeah, look, there's almost 0 chance that this is going to hold. Like, almost 0. And that's what we do. Like, people take the chance. It's unlikely to work. And then immediately it doesn't do anything. So Boucher played 17 minutes for 5 points. He had 9 rebounds. Nothing would have suggested he could have continued it. But it's okay. It is one of those ones where I never will have a problem with taking a flyer on something unless it means you made an idiotic drop. Like, I don't remember the exact specifics of this, but someone said, let's say it was Boucher. It wasn't, but let's say they said, yeah, I took a chance on him, man. I dropped Barrett and grabbed Boucher. I went, yeah, what are you talking about? Like that is where making a get out ahead of it and seeing what happens and taking a flight, that is where that is absolutely stupid. Sorry to that man. Or woman. I don't know. I don't remember who it was, and it wasn't even Boucher or Barrett. It was Barrett, but it wasn't Boucher. I don't remember who it was. But that's where those sort of moves that get out ahead of it are dumb. But overall, look, if you're dropping name here, like if it was Pritchard, right? I don't actually care. If it was Kelly Oubre, don't really care. If it was Yabusele, don't really care. Like that's what you have that streaming spot for. But if you're dropping an established sort of a guy, that's where we need to have a few little words, I think. And the words are, don't do it. Next game, third one. Memphis, San Antonio. The Grizzlies get the easy victory in the end. 129-115 is your final score here for Memphis over the Spurs. Of course, still no Jeremy Sohan. Both these teams rolled out the same starting lineup that they did in their last time out. And if we look at Memphis's game, Ja Morant played 31. He had 21, 4, and 12 with 2 steals and shot the ball well, finally. We talked about him on the buy low show, how just nothing was going in. Well, good. It started to go in. Desi Bane, 21, 2, and 3, 2 steals and a block. Big numbers. Well, Jaren Jackson had 19, 6, and 2. Poor shooting, but Jaren's taking so many shots. 24 shot attempts for him, 26 for Bane and Morant combined. We also got a return to the GOAT, Santi Aldama. 27 minutes for Aldama, 20 and 10. Every big game from Aldama, and correct me if I'm wrong, I could be, requires these random blow-up shooting nights. It's like he shot 60%. He took 15 attempts. Like, what? That is, what? I still don't believe that Aldama is a must-roster guy, but obviously, that is a very good game, and if you want him and you love what he did earlier in the season, I get it. The Duck, Luke Kennard, played 30 minutes. He had 15, 9, and 3. His game log's a little bit of a dog's breakfast, so I wouldn't be going through that and going, well, yeah, that's a great game, so he's got to be a rosterable guy. This is just more likely a he got hot, it's a matchup thing, and he looked good there. Well, we're not obviously rostering Pippen, who had 3 points, and Jalen Wells only played 21. So Wells, who'd been getting higher minutes, dropped down while Kennard did more. The Zach Edey thing, like 17 minutes for Edey in a matchup against Wemby. He had 6 and 5. He didn't have foul trouble. I don't see it. It might happen, but I also don't care.
Get that garbage out of here.
He's not good enough to me to hold, to wait for something to develop. I don't think. On the Spurs side of things, there was a rookie, though, in this game who did have another good game, and that was Steph Castle. 2 20-point games in a row for Castle. It is very weird for me to see Castle get 21 shots and lead the team in shot attempts. He was great from the line. That is 2 huge volume games in a row from Castle. Now, obviously, he had been bad for the majority of the season. He's like the 256th ranked player so far in category leagues. But 2 games in a row, they've been great. And while Sohan is out, if you want to lean into it and grab him, I get it. I would temper expectations, and that's part of my job here, is to provide... I could say, oh my God, Boucher just had 20 points, guys. Go and grab him. I think it's a must. You've got to do it. And that's stupid. I could say the same with Castle. He's had 20 in a row. I think it's here. I think we've figured it out. It's all ready to go. It's Castle time. But I don't believe that. So if you want to get hyped and get excited about things, you do that. But I'm here to provide perspective on stuff. So Castle was great. If I want to look at the team, though, do I believe that he is likely to lead the team in shot attempts? No. Do I believe he's going to start? Also no. Do I believe he's going to play 30 minutes a night? No, I don't. Do I believe he's going to shoot well? No, I don't. So all of those things, and maybe it does. Maybe he's blossomed in the last 2 weeks to become the guy that's going to start every game. Maybe. I don't believe so, but maybe. So if you want to take the crack at it, do it. Just again, be cautious of what you do. Victor Wembanyama had 8 blocks. I think they all came in the first half. He had only 13 points, though, on 26% shooting, so not his best game. But one of the things with Wemby is, he has not a good game. He has 12 boards and 8 blocks with 2 steals. All right, that's pretty good. I'll take that when it's a down game. The horse, Keldon Johnson, had 17 points, and in true horse style, he didn't do anything else. 4 rebounds and 1 assist. That is what he does. That is why we don't like him for category leagues. And the pencil, Harrison Barnes. Barnesy. Yeah, cool. He had 10 points. We don't get excited about him, really in any scenario. And Chris Paul didn't do much. He just was sort of absent usage-wise and only 22 minutes from Champagny as well, who is sort of being pushed down the pecking order somewhat at the moment. We'll come back. We'll talk about some of these other games in a sec. But first of all, today's episode is brought to you by Robin Hood. With Robinhood Gold, you can now enjoy the VIP treatment, receiving a 3% IRA match on retirement contributions. The privileges of the very privileged are no longer exclusive. With Robinhood Gold, your annual IRA contributions are boosted by 3%. Plus, you also get 4% APY on your cash in non-retirement accounts. That is over 8x the national savings average. The perks of the high net worth are now available for any net worth. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. To receive your 3% boost on annual IRA contributions, sign up at robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk. 3% match requires Robinhood Gold at $5 a month for 1 year from the first match. Must keep funds in IRA for 5 years. Go to robinhood.com/boost. Over 8x the national average savings account interest rate claim is based on data from the FDIC as of November the 18th, 2024. Robinhood Financial LLC, member SIPC. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold LLC. Okay, we can go on now onto the next one, which is the Atlanta Hawks. I've been waiting for it. The Atlanta Hawks and the Chicago Bulls. The Hawks had so many players out in this one. Trae Young was out, Jalen Johnson was out, DeAndre Hunter was out, and then Zachary Ricochet was also out, which actually maybe helped them a little bit. So they started Keaton Wallace. They started Vit Krejci again. And they started the NBA's worst player, David Roddy Piper. And they beat the Bulls by 16 points. That is embarrassing. It's horrendously embarrassing. Let's talk about the Hawks, because if you streamed in Keaton Wallace, you're a legend. 27, 6 and 6, 4 steals and 4 threes. Now, I believe this is just a back-to-back rest for Trae, so don't get overly excited about it. Keaton, whose brother is the Hong Kong mattress Kaysen Wallace, was great here. He's also started a couple of games earlier in the season and offered nothing outside of steals, so it is quite fluky, but great stuff. As for the other random player who went off in this game, how about the big fella, Daquan Plowden? Mr. Plowden, that's his name. That name again is Daquan Plowden, 19-4 with 5 threes and shot 88%. Sick. Literally his first NBA game. He was on the Golden State Warriors as a two-way guy and then got cut before the season started, and now he's on the Hawks as a two-way guy after they cut Seth Norris. I think that's who it was. Anyway, Plowden, really good. Don't think it matters. What is more important to me here is that it was another very good Vit Krejci game. 11, 3, 6, 2 blocks. Krejci is a somehow top 100 player over the last 2 weeks. And while Hunter is out, but more importantly, while Jalen Johnson is out, I think you can do a lot worse than streaming in Vit Krejci. Onyeka Okongwu. Now this is what I want to see. 27 minutes to Capela's 21. 14, 13, and 7 with a 111. That's 2 in a row. Is it the turnaround to make Okongwu the big minute guy now? I don't know. I honestly don't know, because we have been edged a million times on this. But Capela's not it. Okongwu's playing well. It is worth noting that one of those games was against the Suns, who have got some of the worst center play in the NBA, and the other is against the Bulls, who, despite what you guys think, actually have bad center play, especially defensively. And Okongwu was able to put up big numbers. So I like Okongwu. You know I like Okongwu. Am I confident that he's a 27-minute a night guy? No, I'm not. But if it is a chance, well, we're in. I think Bogdan, I think he's washed. I think Bogdanovic is washed. 3 points in 20 minutes, 10% shooting. Now, obviously, 10% is not what he's going to do. But he played 20 minutes only. So I do not think we need to hold him while David Roddy had 3 steals and shot 18%. Cool. The Bulls. They went with the same starting lineup. There was no Lonzo Ball in this one back-to-back, so Zach LaVine only had 15 points. 7 assists and 2 steals helps, but that scoring run is down. Well, I think Vooch had like 8 points in the first quarter and then finished with 14. He did have 16 rebounds, Vooch. He had 4 assists, and it was another, shockingly enough, subpar shooting night from Vooch. He missed all of his threes and went 43% from the field. Yeah, that's a shame. Cody White had 16, 2, and 6 with a 1-1, and Dosunmu returned. He played 25 minutes. He had 2 steals, and I believe that it's going to be very hard for Dosunmu, with a team that is healthy, to be a 12-team league player. Especially with Lonzo playing more minutes, you are going to have Lonzo and Dosunmu coming off the bench, and I don't think that Dosunmu is getting 30. He's going to be one of these guys that you can stash and you wait for maybe an injury to get him to 30 minutes, but your league and your individual situation will determine whether that's viable. When they are healthy, and they currently are, I don't think he will put up 12-team league numbers, Dosunmu. Yes, it was his first game back, but that's how I think it's going to go. And I also think that Giddey is going to lose a little bit, and we saw that here, 7 points, 30 minutes. He had 10 rebounds, Giddey. I think he's a hold, but man, I'm not certain it's going to stay that way for the whole way through. Let's do the next one. The Orlando Magic, they lose to the Bucks, 122-93. This is an old-fashioned ass-kicking. The Magic were without Suggs and Wagner, and then Goga was out. So we had a couple of changes here. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope returned. He started. That meant that Caleb Houston went to the bench, and then Wendell Carter Jr. started for Goga. Let's start with Wendell, who played 33 minutes. He had 12 and 10 with 2 steals, which is cromulent. He shot 25% from the field. It's fine. Is he going to be the guy that starts all the way through? I don't know. I wouldn't be shocked if when Badadze comes back, we see Carter stick. I don't know about it, but it doesn't mean that I want Carter, and it doesn't mean that you have to drop Goga. But I also think if you need to drop Goga, that it will end up okay for you. Cole Anthony played 27 minutes in the blowout, 11 for a dime. That's good enough. We just roll with him until Suggs returns. And Banchero had 22, 5, and 2. But it was the big fella, Yas Queen. He had 11 points for Trevelyan, 3 threes, 28 minutes, and 4 steals. Good game from Trevelyan. Really good. I don't really trust it at all, and he's very up and down in his production, but that is without question good. Unfortunately, Tristan Da Silva is questioned to be good because he isn't. 0 points in 22 minutes. Missed all 4 of his shots. He will be a nothing. He's already sort of a nothing, but he will be a nothing when Wagner returns, so do what you need to do there. And then we thought maybe we're getting some big Isaac stuff. 27 minutes last time out for John Isaac. Playing some backup center, it all looked good, and then he had 9 points in 15 minutes. And it's not to do with injury. They just didn't play him. And that's the more troubling thing. As they looked and they went, we don't have centers. Johnny, just sit there for 15 minutes, mate. That's not good. That's not good. We thought, this is where it's worth having a look. If he plays 25 a night, we love that. And we can take a flyer on it. But, not even an injury thing. And he didn't play, so see you later. KCP had 8 points in his 23 minutes. The blowout probably limited him. And we got some decent minutes from Mr. Black, who had 10 points in 30 minutes. He had 4 assists. He had 2 steals. He was bad from the field and bad from the line. And that is a very Mr. Black scenario. He is only a deeper league player. On to the Milwaukee Bucks side of this game as they got a comfortable victory. Their starting lineup was the same, except Andre Jackson Jr. got hurt in the first half. Didn't return the second half, and somehow he played 15 first half minutes, which normally he plays 15 minutes total. That meant that Big Boom AJ Green started the second half. 2 points for him in 17 minutes. He's streamable sometimes, but you never know what you're going to get. A lot of the time it's garbage. We had 31 minutes from Brook Lopez, 13 and 5 with 5 blocks, so that means limited minutes for Portis, as that continues to be a thing that just goes back and forward. Punch Bob had 14 and 8 in his 23 minutes, and Chris Middleton, the numbers are fine. 14, 2, 6, 2 steals. We love it. I don't think that 21 minutes of Chris Middleton is going to be enough to make him a must-roster player. If you want to have him, it's cool, right? But is he a guy that you have to absolutely have? I don't think so. Lillard was pretty good. 35-4 with 4 steals and shot the ball really well. And Yanni just sort of did his thing. And by doing his thing, I mean missed free throws. The next one, the Dallas Mavericks up against the New Orleans Pelicans. Which game was this? Looking for the number. Yeah, there it is. It's the 6th game of the day. The Pelicans win at 119-116. Kyrie Irving told reporters yesterday on the back-to-back, yeah, I'm going to play. Do not believe players. Just don't believe them. Kyrie had a bulging disc, comes back on a back-to-back and claims he's going to play. Like, my bullshit sensor went off immediately, as it did with a few things in Brooklyn too, which we'll talk about. All right, but he didn't play. So Spencer Dinwiddie started. And then Derek Lively with the ankle, he was out, so Dan Gafford started. And we know that when Gafford plays, even though I don't think he's a particularly good real-life player, he will get big fantasy numbers. 30 minutes, 27-12, 2 blocks, 92%, beastly numbers, must add until Lively is out. Try and sell him to anybody. Anybody. Dinwiddie also, 38 minutes, 20-5, 4 assists, 3 steals, bad shooting. Kyrie will be back next game, so I don't think that he is a necessity to hold on to, Spence. PJ Washington is just sort of plodding along with bad percentages, 14-14. I would still hold him. But Grimes only 19 minutes. Clay only 26 minutes. I'm sorry. Jack Armstrong, you've got 2 hands.
Get that garbage out of here.
Yeah, 1 in each. Get him out of here. I wouldn't be bothered with them. I wouldn't be bothered with Najee Marshall, even though out of nowhere, 10 assists. These are just fringy guys now. Dinwiddie, Marshall, Grimes, and Clay. They're streamable players. You don't have to roster them. You can drop them and open up spots in other areas. With Kyrie out and Luka out, of course, Jaden Hardy had 21 points in 25 minutes. But we know it does take both guys being out for him to even get a sniff of doing this. And most days he won't do it. But the potential is always there. Let's go on to the Pelicans side. They're starting to put together some better games of late. There was no Zion resting on the back-to-back, so Javonte Green started. We'll start with Javonte. He played 27 minutes. Last game, he had some good defensive stats, but not here, just a steal. But 13-7 is not too bad. It looks like he might be slightly ahead of Jeremiah Robinson-Earl. Jose Alvarado left for the locker room in this game, never returned. He had 5 assists. We're not rostering him in 12s, and BJ Boston had 9 in 15 minutes. We're not rostering him either. And what we wanted to see, would the absence of Zion mean that we got more Eve Messi? And yes. Did it mean we got good Eve Messi? Not really. It was fine. 12-6 and 2 blocks, which is okay. But like I've said all along, in days like this, when he gets the opportunity, I want to see smash. But I'm not seeing smash. I'm seeing mid. I think, if you hold him, he can provide something. I usually think if you are locked in and focused on using your streaming spot or his roster spot to maximize it out, you will get better results than just plugging Messi in. But some of us don't have that ability to do it. The time, the thought process, you don't have it, which is cool as well. So you can just have him if you want. Trey Murphy continues to be great. 24-10 with 3 blocks. And DeJounte, yeah, shots going in. 30-7 with 7 assists and 2 steals. So I haven't looked at this just yet, but it's time for me to do my daily, regularly, semi-daily, whatever you want to say. Check in on what nonsense did CJ McCollum do today in the box score. Let's have a look. Of course he did. 11 points on 29% with 0 rebounds, but then he added in 2 blocks. What is this, man? What is this? Bad shooting. Oh, okay, not getting assists. Here I am. Now I'm Hakeem. Did he hit his free throws? Yeah, of course he did in this one. How? Bro, I can't with this guy. I can't. Every time it's something different. Oh, 35-7 assists with 9 threes and then 1 of 10 from the line. All right, big fella. 2 points, but 17 blocks. No problem. Figure out what you're doing and stick to it. I know you can't control that, but bloody hell. I literally had not checked to see what had happened with CJ because I wanted to be surprised by it, and he didn't let me down. Shout out to you, CJ, for not letting me down. So the next game, Charlotte minus BDNR takes on the Utah Jazz minus any good players whatsoever. And yeah, I almost had to buy a new desk. Because what about Marky Mark? I did not hit her Williams. I am most impressed by the fact that Mark Williams was able to play, 36 minutes? 31-13 for Williams. Yes. 31-13. 3 steals. A block. 70 from the line. 86 from the field. 36 minutes is outrageous. I didn't think we'd do that. Now, I know that it'll be very easy to look at this and go, well, that's because Richards is gone. Now he'll play 36. And maybe that is possible. I don't think Richards was impacting him that much because I believe it's very clear that Williams was way better than Richards. But the timing of it is definitely curious. That is a huge game. I think that is an outlier game. It's also very, very, very important to note that the last 2 games came against Phoenix and against Utah, where centers do a lot of damage. And that is exactly what happened here, but it's great. LaMelo, 27, 6 and 9, 3 blocks. Imagine getting 3 blocks from LaMelo Ball. Miles Bridges, 25 and 10. And Brandon Miller, 20 and 5 with 2 steals and a block. 4 players scored 20 points for the Hornets. That meant there wasn't a lot for anyone else to do. Cody Martin did nothing. Misic did nothing. Josh Green played 22 useless minutes, and Nick Smith played 16 minutes and went scoreless. In fact, outside of those first 4 guys, they scored 14 points. So 103 points between 4 players. And how many 6 other players got you the remaining 14 points? Don't really see that very often, but that's how we were. But that Williams game, 36 minutes is the most incredible part of that. And I don't know that it holds. I hope it does. But I'd be worried about his health, but absolutely fantastic stuff. And what I also love is that the waiver wire show earlier today, I italicized this man's name in the must roster. I'm not really sure, but I do think there's going to be an opportunity here for Keontae George. I think we're going to like what we see. Maybe there's going to be bad shooting nights, but let's see what happens. Well, Georgie had 26 with 4 rebounds, 6 assists, and 2 steals. He shot 22 times, which is a lot. He was 41% from the field and 60% from the line, which sucks. Now, it is worth noting that Markkanen, Collins, Sexton, Clarkson were all out. And a lot of those guys are going to miss a lot of time here down the stretch. And he played next to Isaiah Collier. And I believe that is going to be the backcourt that they seek if it can be the backcourt of the future. So Collier, he did it again. Assists. That is what we look at. Assists. 10 of them. 10 big fellas. And that, Sexton's labeled as rest, right? Markkanen's labeled with fake back spasms. Collins with fake hip injury. But if Sexton plays the next game, then Collier probably goes back to a marginal role. But those assists are impossible to find. I'll put it this way. Is it better to have Isaiah Collier than Tyus Jones if you're looking for assists? Probably. But just be aware that if Sexton's in the next game, and I think he will be, that you might not get as much from Isaiah. 11, 3, and 10 for Collier, which is fine. He will have some terrible offensive nights, but that is 2 absolutely good ones in a row. Drew Eubanks, 2 good games in a row for him as well, even though he was on the bench. He moved to the bench with Kessler returning, and Sexton's the guy that was out for George to start. Eubanks had 11 and 8 with a block, and that meant that Kessler didn't do much. 11 and 8 with 2 blocks for him. Not a bad game, but definitely not a good one. Cody Williams continued to do his invisible man act. He had 5 points in 30 minutes. He shot 25%. And honestly, we can talk silly season. We can talk guys stepping up. I don't think he will. I don't think he's got it in him. But the guy that does have it in him is Bryce Sensabaugh. 27 minutes, 19, 4 and 4. Now again, there's no Markkanen, Collins, and Sexton, which, without knowing off the top of my head, they're at least 3 of the top 4 usage players on this team. But like I said, if we want to prepare for what happens in March, and honestly, maybe not even in March, Sensabaugh is going to do a lot. He's going to do not much apart from scoring, but 19, 4 and 4 is bloody interesting. And if I'm in any deep league, it's an easy automatic add. And I think there's a little bit of 12-team stuff there with the understanding that you're going to get some stinkers. Micah Potter started again, 2 and 4 in 21 minutes. That's obviously not very good. In fact, it's almost as good as what Cody Williams provides. But we don't care that much about that one. The guy we do want to watch is Filipowski, and he wasn't that good either. 8, 2 and 2 with 2 threes. I still believe he will have some 12-team appeal. George, Collier, Filipowski, and Sensabaugh, I think are going to have 12-team value on this team when you head into the All-Star break or out of the All-Star break. Collier, George, Sensabaugh, and Filipowski. And we saw the outlines of it here in this game. The next one is a game that we didn't expect this to be the case, but the Rockets spanked the Nuggets 128-108 because Jokic was out. We'll talk about that in a sec. The Rockets had the same guys out there, and it was another game for you to add to the sell-high resume of Jalen Green. 34, 5 assists, 6 threes. Great. Is it sustainable? No, because he shot 63% and 60% on threes. But you add it to the list. If someone out there, and there will be there'll be someone in there with their halo and their Jollibee chicken and their spaghetti. You're sitting there eating, talking, thinking about Jalen Green, and we'll give you a top 40 player. Not everyone will do it. It's got to be a taco league, Josh. Has to be a taco if anyone's giving up top 30 for Jalen Green. Come on, man. No one's doing that in a competitive league. Okay, then that's fine. But you always want to be receptive to it. You always want to listen. You always want to hear about it. You always want to see what overreacting person wants to throw out there. Because I don't care if he's turned the corner. He might have. I still don't believe it. But even if you've turned the corner, you're not a 60% shooter because no perimeter player is. It doesn't exist. It's not a real thing. And if you become a 50% shooter, still probably unlikely, or a 48% shooter, it's a massive hit. So great. We love an extra bit of evidence onto a sell-high resume, which is what this gave us. Also a pretty good game from Freddie VanVleet, 16 and 8 assists with 3 steals and 4 threes. The complaints have quietened somewhat about VanVleet. And actually in this game, I've criticised Cam Whitmore before for saying he gets you points and not much else. But in this one, steal, block, 9 rebounds. Can't complain. Can't complain about that. No Smith, no Eason. That's helping him. Still probably more 14 than anything. Dylan Brooks is in a massive slump. We don't care. We don't hold him. We just stream him when the schedule makes sense. And after a string of unbelievable games, hence why he was on the sell high list, Amen Thompson got the sell high slump. Sort of. 11 and 9 is not bad, but he had 0 assists. Still though, this is where Amen is incredibly valuable. 4 steals, 2 blocks. So even in a game where he didn't get the assist, he didn't score that well, he missed his free throws, 4 of 7, he still got you unbelievable defensive stats. So we clearly just hold him. While Şengün had 20 and 9, with 8 assists and 2 steals. Their bench looks very Charlotte Hornetsy. That's not true, actually, because we had old mate Jonathan Williams drop in 9 points in his 6 minutes. And as you can tell, quite a bit of garbage time going on in this one. On the Nuggets side of things, Jokic, there was a report saying that he was pulled out of this one because of an elbow issue that he suffered in pregame. There was some saying he's been sort of holding that weirdly over the last couple of games, and he had a shooting sleeve on it. But he was late scratched during warm-ups with the elbow issue, so keep an eye on that. And with Jokic out, you know what happened? My man, Christian Brown, who I've been saying, I don't think you need to roster, he went crazy. And I'm sure there'll be someone in the comments, you dickhead, you shouldn't have dropped Brown, he's going to be unbelievable. That's all well and good. Jokic out, but look what we needed to get here. 91% shooting. So yeah, it's a great game, and this will happen. This will happen. There will be games when players that you drop pop off due to randomness. Exactly what this is. He still only had 15 usage. He had no defensive stats and 1 assist. So if you dropped him, I think it is the right decision. You might regret it. That is okay. But understand that game doesn't mean anything in terms of predictability moving forward. There was no Aaron Gordon in this one either. Bad game from the poop cookie. Michael Porter took only 4 shots and had 8 points, while DeAndre Jordan filled in for Jokic. He had 3 blocks with 8 rebounds, and Westbrook was still pretty good. 17, 4, and 2 outside of the 4 turnovers in about the first 2 minutes. The headmaster dropped in 22, 3, and 5, but at least he played on the back-to-back. And then, realistically, not much else going on there. If you streamed in Peyton Watson for blocks, you got him. You didn't get much else. Strowther had 10 points in 25 minutes. You got a couple of threes. But, of course, Jokic and Gordon could very easily play in the next game, meaning a lot of this stuff with Brown, with Watson, with Strowther doesn't really mean anything. This was a game where we got 6 Trey Alexander minutes. That is how much of a blowout it was because Trey Alexander just doesn't normally play. All right, next one. Golden State, Minnesota. The Warriors win it by 1 point on the road against the Wolves. 116-115 is the final score here. The Warriors, they changed the starting lineup. They brought Guy Santos in and Buddy Hield moved to the bench. They still had no Draymond, no Kuminga, no Podziemski, and no Kyle Anderson. Let's start with Santos, who played 21 minutes. He had 5 and 7 with 3 assists. And honestly, not sure we need to care that much in any sort of position. Buddy Hield was good. He was good. 18 points, 3 threes. The 3 steals and 2 blocks are an absolute bonus. The 29 minutes is good. He is putting together a solid run of games right now. But I don't believe that it's something that has long-term appeal because Draymond and Podziemski are going to be back, I'm guessing, pretty soon. Kuminga? No, he won't be. But those other 2 will be. So Buddy will get 24 minutes and go back to being a 3-point streamer. Steph played 37 minutes. That's huge, man. 31 points, 7 threes, 8 assists. Great stuff from him. And Wiggins was really good also. Wiggins still floats around on waiver wires, by the way. You shouldn't be leaving him there. 24 and 5 with 2 threes, while Jackson Davis had 4 points only, but 15 boards and 2 blocks and played 27 minutes. And I believe he is a 12-team league player. I guess that's an interesting question. Do I think that Trace Jackson Davis or BDNR is a better option? Per minute, it is very clearly to me Jackson Davis. If I knew that they both played 28 a night, I would take Trace every day. But I don't. I feel more secure in Richards' minutes, although I still don't know that Richards plays 28 a night. They had, Yusuf Nurkic, who wasn't playing 28 a night already. He's still there. He's not playing. Plumlee wasn't getting those minutes. They just rotate guys through. And I don't believe Richards is that good. That he's going to come in, walk in and go, BD and R's here. I'm getting 30. Let's go. Now, obviously, Jackson Davis isn't that good of a player either, but there's not that many options in Golden State. It is a tough question. It is a tough question. I think I probably... I could easily just go with the consensus, right? Where everyone's jumping on board the Nick Richards train and saying, well, I'll say, yep, I'd take Nick Richards. And then it doesn't look stupid if it doesn't work out. But I don't know. I still think that even if it's a 10% bit of upside, that Jackson Davis can get the same minutes as Richards. And it's not guaranteed. It's not impossible. I think I might go that direction. It is tough, though. Dennis Schroeder, another nothing game. 25 minutes, 12 points, 2 steals. This one, I'm sure we can all agree on.
Get that garbage out of here.
And what else happened? Not much else on that side. Let's go to the Minnesota side of the game. They went with the same starting lineup, and we actually got huge Dante DiVincenzo minutes. Now, I am not the biggest DiVincenzo's is awesome player guy, but this role in this game is awesome. That's fantastic. 39 minutes, 28, 6 and 9, 6 threes. He's had a couple of shaky ones since being a starter, but if he is a starter, and when he was a starter, it was an easy add because that was what we saw, and there were going to be shaky games, but now we are rolling with this one. It might be better than the next one. He might have 12 points in 28 minutes on 30% shooting with 4 assists, right? That might happen. But it's all about flaws, possibilities, probabilities, and it's working in his favor. Goose dropped 28 points with 8 rebounds, 2 assists, a steal, and a block. Anthony Edwards, and you love the fact that he got to the line 11 times. You hate the fact that he shot 37 from the field, but overall, pretty good game in 41 whopping minutes. And Jaden McDaniels, really solid. 14, 4 and 4 with 2 blocks and 2 threes. And if we knew that we'd get that relatively often, then he would be a must-roster player. The problem is, it's Jaden McDaniels. So we stream him in. We use him when we get games on days like this, when the team's plays and you've got a streaming opportunity. He's useful. But I would still much rather use that roster spot to get 6 games during the week versus holding for 3.8 games out of Jaden McDaniels. The centers all sort of just did the same thing. 29 minutes for Reed, 27 minutes for Randall, and 29 minutes for Gobert. Reed had 15 and 6. Didn't shoot well, but some good numbers. Randall, 17 and 6. Didn't shoot well, but not bad numbers. Gobert had 7 and 10. Only took 2 shots and hit them both, but had 2 blocks. So they all sort of just did bits and pieces, and no one got big minutes, and they all edged each other out and made it confusing. What isn't confusing, though, is that along with Dennis Schroeder, Mike Conley's joining him.
Get that garbage out of here.
He is at the moment, he's officially washed, Conley. 1 point, 19 minutes. The cliff has been reached. He has tumbled. It's Norwegian death diving style off the edge of this cliff for Conley. It's bad, man. He was so good last season, and now he's not. That happens with small guards. They just disappear, and that is what it feels like we're at with Conley. Let's talk about the next game, the Miami Heat and the Los Angeles Lakers. Bam Adebayo returned. He moved back to the starting lineup, and Superman Khalil Ware went to the bench, but that's immediately where we want to look. How did it go? Because if you just ignored a lot of that, you'd look at Ware and go, man, 8 points, 11 rebounds, 2 blocks. I'm loving it. That's great. But still, 18 minutes a night is it's not enough. It's not enough. Now, they did play together for 30 seconds. That's it. That's the first time. 30 seconds to end the first half. But then they didn't. Now, is Ware, I will again be very, very clear in reiterating this. Do I think Khalil Ware is going to be a starter in the NBA? Yep. Does it look like he might be a top 5 player from this draft? Yes. Do I think he'll have multiple top 50 fantasy seasons? Yes. Do I think that if they played him at power forward and he played 25 minutes a night, he'd be a 12-team league player? Yes. Have we any evidence to suggest that will happen? No. No, we don't. At the moment, the path for him being a 12-team league guy is a benching of Bam Adebayo or a minute split of Bam Adebayo. You might believe that Eric Spoelstra is going to play them together. Maybe that does happen. It is possible. I think it will work. But at the moment, we don't have evidence to suggest that. And a backup center playing 18 minutes a night, and Bam only played 30, which is probably not going to be the thing that happens every night. It's a really, really unlikely scenario. Now, if you're in a position where holding is fine, do it. I love what Ware does. It's more about, is there a realistic path here for him outside of hope him but he's good eventually, yeah? Which is a lot of what holding does. And sometimes it works. But a lot of the time it doesn't, because there's just the path for this to happen needs something crazy to go wrong. And maybe it does. He was good. It's hard to get there. What we did get, though, is 32 minutes of Little Chungus, Nikola Jovic. 12, 4, and 8. I think he is a 12-team league guy. Now, Jimmy Butler's initial suspension is over. I have no idea whether that means Jimmy Butler will play or not. Absolutely no idea. None. There's all this talk and chatter and comments and reports, and I don't know. I don't know what'll happen. But while Jimmy is out, it is the best case scenario for the fringe guys, because in a trade, somebody else comes back. So at the moment, if Jimmy just doesn't play, well, it helps all of the fringe players, and Jovic is one of those guys. Let's look at some of the other fringe players on this team, including Triple H, Jaime Jaquez Jr. 25 minutes, 11 and 5, 2 threes. Yeah. The sirens should be going off to suggest again. What are they suggesting? Not that good. These are the times. These are the chances for him to do something. And he did. And then every game it's gotten worse. You can hold and see what happens. But again, I just don't think that the value of him is so high. Bam didn't look at his best with the back issue. 10, 4, and 5 in 31 minutes. And that is why, especially early on, Ware got more minutes. So if Bam's back is going to be a problem and you think it's a persistent thing, you couldn't know that, but that might be the way you lean, and that's fine, then Ware does have more appeal. And you want to talk about small guards being washed? Terry Rozier's cooked. 6 points, 2 rebounds, 24 minutes. I think he was just a Hornets merchant. He was a LaMelo Ball ankle injury merchant. Because put him on a real team and he's terrible. He was terrible in Boston as well. Hero had 34 with 7 threes. He has been unbelievably good this season. Continues to shoot the absolute lights out. While Haywood Highsmith, the minutes is fine. 12 points, 2 threes, 2 blocks. That's good. Not much else on that one. The Lakers side of things, they get the win. I didn't even mention that. 117-108 is your final score in this game. And they trotted out the same starting lineup. And we got another monster Austin Reeves game. Now, he didn't take many shots, only 14 points, but 14 assists with 3 steals. He is one of the leading assist men in the NBA. And since D'Angelo Russell has been gone, it's just opened up all of that passing for him. LeBron dropped in a 22-5 and 9 game, and Davis had 22-11 with 2 blocks and 2 steals. Huge. What else? Guess what? My mate Rui Hachimura went off. So all of you guys that have been holding him, it's justified now. It's all there. There you go. 23 and 8 for Hachimura. I don't care. I wouldn't add him, and I would have absolutely zero regrets about dropping him, because that big game brings Rui to be the 200th ranked player over the last 2 weeks. Max Christie was fine. The minutes are very enticing. 16 points with 3 threes, 2 steals, and a block. He shot 50%. That's great. That is perfectly in the stream zone for 12s. If you want to hold him in a 12, do it. If you don't, don't. To me, there's no wow, this might turn into a top 100 locked-in player. But there's enough there that I think he's actually quite good. Dalton Connect had 2 points in 14 minutes. Can't believe that he failed to pick 17. Just honestly, every day, it's amazing that they let the Lakers get him. While Gabe Vincent had 14 in 26 minutes with 4 assists. And I know I say this a lot, but man, this draft, man, it is horrendous. We're going to look back on this and go, bro, what was going on in this year? Tijan Salam was pick number 6. Bro, what are you doing? Zach Rizishay's doing nothing. Sarr, flashing some things. Castle, flashing some things. Ware, flashing a little bit. Jalen Wells, I guess, he's an okay role player. But what the hell is this class, man? Oh, it's horrendous. It is horrendous. Sorry to these men and their families. I'll be honest with you, I don't really know what to talk about with this final game, because the Clippers beat the Nets by 59 points. 59 points. That is almost 60. You don't see those sort of margins all that often. So therefore, the game is a little bit of a laugh. The Nets, as we expected, were without a lot of players. They tried to fool us. They said D'Angelo Russell was going to play, and then he didn't. Ben Simmons was resting. Cam Johnson, they said it's not rest. He actually re-injured the ankle yesterday. Oh, of course he did. So let's see how long he's out this time. But what did happen, which was a little surprising to me, is Nick Claxton missed 1 game with a hamstring and then returned. He probably shouldn't have. He played 17 minutes and had 2 points. He shot 14%. His heart's not in it this season, it feels like. And it's hard to say that from an outside perspective. But this guy's been dreadful. Honestly, we are there. If you want to drop him, I'm not sure that it's a big deal. Honestly, this is bad. It continues to be bad. Noah Clowney was great the last time we saw him. Last game, he put up really good numbers. In this one, he got ejected and he scored 4 points in 22 minutes and 17%. He had no steals and no blocks. And like I said the other day, I love the game that we got from him. I believe in him long term. I think the gap between good and bad will tighten as we move forward. But you are going to get bad ones and you are going to get some good ones here. But I still believe they're committed to giving him the minutes. So if you've got him, it's rough, I know. But I would try to hold. Keon Johnson also stunk. Revenge game, 6 points, 0 rebounds, 0 assists, 0 steals, 0 blocks on 22% shooting. While Reese Beekman, the vulture, added 2 steals. Ev Bumwan had 7 points in his 29, and Dayron Sharp popped off for 28 minutes because they didn't play Claxton much. 12 and 14, didn't shoot well from the field or the line, Sharp, and he remains just a guy, Dayron, just to watch, just in case there's an extended run of him being a starter, then we would 100% add him. But what am I doing here? No Thomas, no Russell, no Johnson, no Simmons. Limited minutes from all the starters. It's just a garbage team and a garbage game. Clowney, probably you want to hold, but also don't have to. Zaire Williams sort of snuck through and got 2 steals, but he'd been good prior to this. Tyrese Martin was an NBA, it's got to be close to the worst, negative 55. He's, again, more of just a streamer. Jalen Wilson had 16. But it's just throwing shit up into the air and trying to dodge it when it comes down with a lot of these things. I feel as confident as you can about Clowney. I would feel confident about Johnson, but I don't know about the injuries. I don't know about Simmons. I don't know about Russell and whether he's ever going to play. He comes back, plays 20 minutes, he had a really good game, and then disappears again. I think he'll be back in the next game, and I think we use Russell until it's just over. But man, it's going to be messy. The Clippers side of things, well, it's equally messy because no one needed to play minutes. Jim Harden, just a 21, 6, and 11 game. And this is how you know the game was easy. He shot 60%. Norman Powell, 70%, added 3 steals. Kawhi, the minutes limit was boosted to 24. He played 24 minutes. He had 23 points. He shot 73%. But what the hell does any of this mean against this team? Not much. 11, 9, and 4 for Zubats. And one thing I find really interesting is that pre-game, Ty Lue said, Kevin Porter Jr. is going to be out of the rotation today. So even in a game like this, Kevin Porter Jr. did not get into the game. They used everyone available and said, KPJ, we told you you're not playing, bro, so you're not playing. That's interesting. Obviously, we're not rostering KPJ in 10 or 12 or 14 team leagues, but just interesting. I thought that's the direction they went. Amir Coffey had 13 in 31 minutes. We had 14 big stiffy minutes. Bones Highland, 5 assists and 2 steals. And if Porter is going to be out of the rotation, then Highland moves into at least a deeper league area. But honestly, I've talked for too long about this game that in the end, it's really hard to get any sort of meaningful takeaways out of it. Let's go and give some lines of the night. By the way, Chris Dunn moved to the bench this one. Derek Jones started. It's going to move back and forward in those spots. Mark Williams is your monstrous. 31, 13, 3 steals. An absolutely ridiculous game from the big fella. He didn't hit her. The waiver wire line of the night is also the non-Wemby division young gun of the night. It's Keaton Wallace. Imagine, 27 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists, and 4 steals. So we had a couple of guys. We'll get to that in a sec. This is the non-Wemby young gun of the night because Wemby still had 8 blocks in a double-digit rebound game. So Wallace gets this. And your dud of the night, there are a couple of guys that were challenging for it. But in the end, we are going to head. And it's a big award. It's important. Bogdan Bogdanovic had 3 points and 1 assist, and he and Terry Rozier, they look a little washed, unfortunately, at this point in the season. A few guys left the games early with injuries here. We had Ochai Agbaji leaving with a hand issue. With him out, you're going to get a benefit to Walter, maybe Boucher, maybe Bruce Brown, but that's deeper league stuff. Taylor Horton-Tucker wasn't able to return with a knee injury. The biggest beneficiary here is going to be being able to watch good basketball. Andre Jackson Jr. left with a hip issue, and that means that Big Boom AJ Green, Gary Trent Jr., and DeLon Wright would get extra minutes if he's out, but again, not mattering for most people. And the last one is Jose Alvarado. I still don't know what the actual reason was he went to the locker room. It would mean more Boston and more Hawkins. Again, that's just deeper league stuff. And that's a recap. That is 11 games. That is International Ruboys Day. That is insane, embarrassing performances from the Bulls and the Nets. That is ridiculous Mark Williams breakouts. It is a Nick Richards trade. I have a mailbag show tomorrow with me and Kingy, 2:30 p.m. Eastern, live on YouTube, so make sure you're checking that out. In the meantime, thumb up the video, like the channel, ring the bell, and you'll see when it goes live. And of course, in a day like this, don't be the Nets. Be good. Think of something good. Uplift yourself. Because if you don't do it, Don't rely on someone else. Although, you can be that for somebody else. Guys, we are done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya.